we're going back to this so that we could. It's gonna be fun editing this around. But I'm up for the challenge. Silver is being buried beneath the sea. It's all because of climate change, study finds. Global warming is burying a huge amounts of silver beneath the South China Sea, and the same could be happening across the world's oceans, scientists say. Hi, Key. How are you? And thanks for lurking. The amount of silver trapped in marine sediments off the coast of Vietnam has increased sharply since 1850s, a new study says. This coincides with the start of the Industrial Revolution, when humans began pumping greenhouse gases into the atmosphere at a large scale. This is the first time research has highlighted a possible link between silver cycles in the ocean and global warming. Study lead author, I'm going to slaughter this also, I am so sorry. As much as I also play Honkai Impact and Genshin, names escape and proper ways to say it. Li Xiangzu, an associate professor at the Department of Geostudies at the Hefei University of Technology in China, told Live Science in an email. The discovery indicates global warming could have unknown impacts on other trace elements too, Zhu says. Trace elements are elements like cobalt, zinc, and iron that are present in tiny amounts in the environment, but may serve as essential micronutrients for life. I think last month we did the dark oxygen? Oxygen that's created in regions that you shouldn't be able to create oxygen, since oxygen is created using, people believe, photosynthesis and through plants, but it doesn't exist at lower ocean amounts. Like other elements, silver originates on land and enters the oceans primarily through weathering, where rainwater leaches elements from the rocks and carries them into rivers. Which is, it also brought up the thought of, when the gold rush happened, one of the best places that, gold panners would set up was actually at river bends, because the way that the water would flow through the river, since gold is heavier than most silt, is that it would get caught in the river bend itself, and that's the reason why you mostly find gold panners in that location, because that's more likely the location you'd find it. I mean, it still wouldn't be much, but it's still something. Speaking of weathering and carrying through rivers. D&D figure. Nice! So, it's gonna be a, the 3D printer thing. Certain regions of the oceans are enriched with silver due to the heavy river inputs, atmospheric dust, human emissions, and hydrothermal vents. Silver in its ionic form, Ag+, is toxic for many marine creatures, Zhu says, but very little is known about how it interacts in the wider ocean ecosystems. And the core... okay. To find out more about how silver behaves in marine environments, Xu and his colleagues analyzed a sediment core from Vietnam upwelling area in the eastern South China Sea. Upwelling areas are coastal regions where the cold water rises from the sea floor, uphauling nutrients from the deep that sustain rich surface ecosystems. A resin print. Nice. I would say, so what's your class and what's your race in D&D? The core was split into 2 zones, according to the study published August 13th in the Journal of Geophysical Research Letters. Silver concentrations decreased from the base of the core, dating roughly 1200 BC, up to about 3 inches, 7 centimeters, from the top, but the upper end of the core shows a very different trend. Burial of silver over the past 3,200 years shows an abrupt increase around 1850, the researchers wrote in the study. The timing is in concurrence with the atmospheric CO2 record, they added, suggested that climate change accelerates the silver burial in some marine sediments. Concentrations of silver in upwelling areas are generally high, especially in areas where humans add more silver to the mix via industry and pollution, according to the study. Such areas include coastal Massachusetts and the San Francisco Bay, which researchers previously dubbed the Silver Estuary. Changeling Barbarian. Nice! It's been a while since I've looked into D&D. What got me interested in D&D was actually Neverwinter Nights. The original. The game. The video game. Maybe someday I'll actually play it, because I think I have all of them on Steam. Silver levels off the coast of Vietnam were naturally high and similar to levels previously recorded in welling areas of Canada, Mexico, Peru, Chile. Zhu said, however, these studies did not link the high concentration with global warming. Global warming boosts water temperatures and coastal winds, which combine to increase the intensity of upwelling. This leads to more nutrients rising to the surface, increasing the abundance of algae that feeds the entire food chain. High levels of dissolved silver in these regions could mean organisms absorb more silver than elsewhere. When they eventually die and sink, the silver drops down to the sea floor. Neverwinter Nights, I would suggest the original. Neverwinter Nights 2, I'd get through the first part of the game. I mean, the first game first. Just so you get the general idea, but the final expansion is the better one of it. Part of a D&D group. D&D group. Recommend watching it for fun. Nice! Yeah, I was saying, leaving the house is not my superpower either. Silver enters the sediments together with organic matter, Zeus says. Many upwellings strengthen as the result of global warming, and we believe silver in the sediments of all these areas is increasing. The authors of a 2021 view of trace metals in the ocean agreed that dead organisms may be transporting silver to the seafloor, although several other factors could also be at play, they said. For example, low oxygen levels might be boosting silver entrapment in the sediments through chemical reactions, four authors told Live Science. Not dying from yeah, absolutely. But one of the other things is I only not stream 2 nights a week, and my guess is most D&D groups meet during the weekends, and that's when I stream the most. So it kind of, I guess the only way I could do it is like to play a online game of like D&D or something. But also, I recharge my social batteries usually on Monday and Tuesday, so I don't interact much with people. Not that I don't like people, I just need that recharging moments. And so, yeah, I would die in Texas too. I remember going through there for a few days during the 2-week trip through the West. Though Key Welder is in Australia, so I mean, am I right, Key? Or am I confusing? I'm finished. Sorry, somebody else in here is from Australia that sometimes shows up, and I'm like sitting here going, comparatively speaking, but Finnish, yeah, you'd probably die here. But the thing in Finland is, at least when I went to Europe, they don't have as much AC. So that makes it about 1,000 times worse. For example, low oxygen levels might be boosting silver entrapment using in sediments through chemical reactions. For all of the authors told Live Science in an email. Though, mind you, I don't think as a southerner could survive, anything amount of snow at all. There's strong evidence that low oxygen regions in the ocean are expanding. They said, if silver trapping is increasing in low oxygen areas, it could indeed be happening on a broader scale. If this happened in a global scale, it would probably be a problem because silver could potentially escape and poison the ocean ecosystems, Zhu says. High levels of silver in sediments have the potential to be released into seawater. If the silver doesn't escape back into the water, it'll eventually find its way to land, authors of the review said. Nothing is truly lost, only relocated. As somebody who went to Chicago for like 2 days, mind you, deep dish pizza, amazing, but I am a pizza lover altogether, all around. It's so windy, it's not funny. Like, the wind hurts. Like, my grandfather, about an hour and a half outside of Chicago, maybe a bit more, probably a bit more. Even in that area, the wind is like, it's not just the cold, it's literally the wind cutting through you, it felt like. Like, absolutely slicing through. Even though I had, like, windbreaker stuff on, I still felt like I was losing. If I had a fight between me and that wind, I would lose, and it would drag me halfway across the state. But no, heck, driving up there, usually because 90% of the trip from Alabama up to Illinois is actually going through Illinois. Just general areas of Illinois, when driving, you're fighting the wind all the time. It is a fight. Matching set of dinosaur prints found on opposite sides of the Atlantic Ocean. Matching sets of footprints discovered in Africa and South America revealed that dinosaurs once traveled along a type of highway 120 million years ago, before the two continents split apart, according to new research. Paleontologists have found more than 260 dinosaur footprints from the early Cretaceous period in Brazil and Cameroon, now more than 3,700 miles or 6,000 kilometers apart on opposite sides of the Atlantic Ocean. The footprints are similar in age, shape, and geologic context, said Louis L. Jacobs, a paleontologist at the Southern Methodist University in Texas, a lead author of a study describing the tracks published Monday by the New Mexico Museum of Natural History and Science. I guess that's a picture of a theropod on the Suthan Basin in northeastern Brazil. Most of the fossilized prints were created by a three-toed theropod dinosaurs, while a few, likely belonging to the limbering four-legged sauropods, with long legs and tails, or slaughtering these names, or crustaceans, which had pelvic structures similar to birds, said study co-author Dana P. Vineyard, research associate at SMU. Literal meter of snow. Yeah, I'm from the South. We don't know what to do with South. There's a, like, if there's a single snowflake anywhere, usually it's a statewide, snow day. I'm not I'm joking on that actually because, at least in the northern Alabama, which is where I'm from, which is the Appalachian Mountains, it kind of snows here. So I kind of get that. Sometimes we have snow here. The most traumatizing time it snowed, I remember, was when I was a pizza delivery person, and I just was nearly in tears before I even reached my job and actually called in and said, I can't do this. Because I was... my truck already had a problem with being, when it's light, it's a bit lighter in the back, so sometimes, like, I had to learn how to keep it from fishtailing on wet surfaces. But trying to figure out how to do that in snow and ice is just not happening. No. No, 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 no. No, 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 no. The trackways tell a story of how the movements of massive landmasses create ideal conditions for dinosaurs before supercontinents broke apart into the 7 continents we know today. Wearing... That's something. The footprints preserved in mud and silt along the ancient rivers and lakes were once existed in the supercontinent Gondwana, which broke away from the larger landmass of Pangaea. One of the problems that's happening right now with the Appalachian Mountains, and it isn't really talked about, we're having a problem with acid rain killing off a bunch of trees. Like, you can tell the different areas that it started to get affected by. Get worried. I mean, at a certain point, if you're really used to it, it's fine. Yeah. Let me... I'm already forgetting how to... Yep. But yeah, that's the effects of acid rain. Right now, so it's become a problem. And more in some locations than others. The footprints were preserved in... Okay. One of the youngest and narrowest geological connections between Africa and South America was the elbow of the northeastern Brazil, nestled in which is now the coast of Cameroon along the Gulf of Guinea, Jacob says. The 2 continents were continuous along the narrow stretch, so that animals on either side of that connection could potentially move across it. So, right there. Africa and South America began pulling apart from each other about 140 million years ago. The separation created rifts in the Earth's crust, and as the tectonic plates between South America and Africa drifted away, magma in the Earth's mantle created new oceanic crust. Over time, the South Atlantic Ocean filled in the space between the 2 continents. But before this gradual change took place, different types of basins formed as the Earth's surface pulled apart. Rivers fed into basins forming lakes, Jacob says. The study authors found evidence of what's known as a Garbin Basin in the northeastern Brazil's Boromia region, and a similar one in the Combe Basin near Cameroon. A half-gaban is an elongated basin formed by pulling apart of the Earth's surface, with a fault forming on one side, such that the bottom of the valley tilts downwards towards the fault, along which the movement is occurring, Jacob said by email. Hold your hand in front of you. Tilt your fingers down, representing the movement along the fault. Rivers will flow down the valley and deposit sediments, and sediments will be eroded from the high side of the valley. Within both basins, researchers found dinosaur tracks, ancient river and lake sediments, and fossilized pollen. Plants fed the herbivores and supported the food chain, he said. Muddy sediments left by the rivers and lakes contain dinosaur footprints, including those of meat eaters, documenting that these river valleys could provide specific avenues for life to travel across the continent 120 million years ago. While dinosaurs fossils can yield unique insights about the types of animals that roamed the planet millions of years ago, their footprints provide other windows into the past. Dinosaur tracks are not rare, but unlike bones usually found, footprints are proof of dinosaur behavior, how they walked, ran, or otherwise, who they walked with, and what environment they walked through, what direction they were going, and where they were when they were doing it, Jacob said. It's difficult to tell the specific species of dinosaurs that traveled along the basins, but they represent a larger portrait of the ancient climate and how different types of animals thrived in the environment along that continental rift created. If your dog and a coyote walk across the same mudflat, you might know that two dog critters walked there. They are very similar, but you may not be able to know if they are different species. Ditto on the dinosaur track situation, Jacob says. All animals have home ranges. All animals expand their ranges. All animals exploit resources as necessary depending on availability, often related seasonally. Herbivores follow nutritious plants, and carnivores follow their herbivorous food. At the time, rainfall levels helped create a tropical rainforest-type environment with abundant vegetation. Animals came to the basins from both present-day Africa and South America, causing their populations to mix. Imagine a lush, open basin with vegetation for herbivores and carnivores following, said study co-author Lawrence Finn, assistant director of the American School of Prehistoric Research and lab safety coordinator within the Department of Human Evolutionary Biology at Harvard University. That is a title. If nobody is there on the new turf, then animals will disperse onto it, giving no competition. Later, once the continents drifted apart, this disruption likely caused a break in genetic continuity, a key driver of evolution. The dinosaur tracks in Cameroon were first discovered in the late 1980s, and Jacob reported on them at the first International Symposium on Dinosaur Tracks and Traces, convened by paleontologist Martin Lockley in 1986. Jacobs then became friends with the study author Ismar de Souza Calavejo, now a professor within the Department of Geology at the Federal University of Rio de Janeiro. Jacobs was studying dinosaur movements from the African side, while Calavejo was studying them from the Brazilian side. As research into the basins in Africa and South America has continued in the following decades, Jacobs and Calavejo and their colleagues reviewed existing and new fieldwork research to analyze the matching aspects. The new study is being published in tribute to Lockley, who devoted his career to studying dinosaur footprints. We want to put new and evolving geological and paleontological evidence together to tell a story, more specifically of where and why, and where dispersals between continents happen. One beauty of this earth is that any of us can see that Africa and South America used to be fit together like puzzle pieces. It's easy to conceive in a connected world. Animals, including dinosaurs, could and would likely move from place to place. But yeah. Absolutely fit together like puzzle pieces.